This is the opening preview for the exhibition Hard Truths, the Art of Thornton Dial, which is on view here at the New Orleans Museum of Art. The exhibition features the work of Thornton Dial, a self-taught artist who for many years has worked with found materials, exploring the various issues and challenges that he has faced and also that our contemporary culture has addressed over the last 2 or 3 decades.
This exhibition documents the work of a very powerful and unusual artist. It presents works created over a 20-year period, and it's in fact the most extensive survey of his work ever mounted. Thornton Dial had an unusual journey as an artist. He was born in 1928 in the rural South, and he spent his childhood working in the farm fields of western Alabama, followed by decades laboring in the region's factories and heavy industry. Throughout this time, Thornton Dial also made things, objects that he later learned many people called art. And he used these creations to capture the human spectacle that surrounded him.
I've been knowing Mr. Dial since the 1980s when he was a self-taught artist back in Alabama and really working hard. He's very authentic and really expressing the many things that we get to see 20-some years later in fully developed. He's a wonderful artist. He uses a lot of found objects. He talks a lot about the culture that he comes from, a lot about the struggles of the culture that he comes from, the aspirations and the desires of the culture that he comes from. Given that, in addition, his work is so magnificent from a contemporary art perspective. He really understands materials and meaning. And I'd say the essence of his work is that for me, he layers interesting materials, found materials, unusual, unexpected materials in his works. And he layers many meanings in his work, many messages. The New Orleans Museum of Art has been one of the leaders in the work of self-taught American art in the nation. And we've been interested, we have an exhibition right now in our Great Hall of material from our own permanent collection, which includes Mr. Dial. One of Mr. Dial's oldest large pieces is on display right now. It's in Noma's collection. And we've been some of the first people who've actually looked at this work also as contemporary modern art, putting it in our galleries next to contemporary artists as we do regularly. Mr. Dial's a very important artist.
Is an incredibly moving experience because he faces head-on a number of the issues of topical interest today and explores them in very active, physical and dramatic ways. And so for anyone who has the opportunity to see the work, even people who are not necessarily well-versed in contemporary art, I think that they are able to see the kind of inspiration that he has had and the inspiration that he gives to others. I think it's important because this is the opportunity to view a body of work by an artist who is from the South, is of the South, and yet his work transcends geographical boundaries and I would say cultural boundaries. So it gives New Orleanians the opportunity to see a work both in context but also in within the larger perspective of contemporary American culture.
To create his works, Dial engages a wide array of used, worn-out, found objects, which he makes into assemblages and sometimes applies them to canvases and then paints them with expressionist fields of color. These works are highly allegorical, so hidden within these images are layers and layers of meaning. And I would say that one of my favorite works is the one I'm standing in front of right now. It's a piece called High and Wide, Carrying the Rats to the Man. And it's actually an image drawn from one of the most horrific periods in American history and consciousness. It's an African slave ship. The work itself is ominous in that it's constructed of iron bars and tangled fencing and chains. And in the very center of the piece is the most startling and paradoxical of all images. It's a stuffed Mickey Mouse. In this work, Dial recasts this pop culture icon as the central character in this drama of an African slave ship. Mickey Mouse is his tongue-in-cheek reference to the slaves themselves, who were imprisoned down in the ship's hold like rodents. And Mickey Mouse's association with childhood and innocence underscores the true atrocity of the event.
He's like a 24-hour, work machine. He just never stopped, so he just constantly working all the time. Even when I was a kid, he would, just create stuff from anything. It's just always been creative. That's his whole life. That's all I know, You just, just watching him, sometime even from when we was kids, he'll just, hey, y'all come here, and then we'll get conversation with him and get to talking, and you'll wind up sitting there 3 or 4 hours watching him do something, and he's the most craftiest person that I know of, and I'm pretty crafty myself, when I'm doing certain things.
So you learned a lot from him.
Oh yeah, if you're around him, you would have to.
It's very, very rich from an artistic perspective, with the use of unexpected materials in unexpected ways, unexpected compositions. What one can learn from this work is authentic. It is really a reflection of the life and the experience of the man who created it, and who taught himself to paint, who taught himself to work. And he taught himself, and his work, meanwhile, can stand with dignity next to the work of trained contemporary artists.
The art world has struggled throughout its history to find ways to connect with the world at large. Thornton Dial's work takes us to the heart of some of the most crucial and poignant issues of our time, and he asks us to explore them openly and thoughtfully. In the end, Dial creates a body of work that not only inspires the imagination, but also incites our humanity.
I invite everyone to see a show of a remarkable artist whose work at this moment represents the very best of American contemporary art. The exhibition is on view through May 20th. The museum is open every day except for Monday, and we're open Friday evenings until 9 p.m.